Listen, son, to all the sons out there. You can be anything you want to be. Keep God first and love yourself, love your family, and chase your dreams. Welcome to the Listen Son Podcast.
Listen Son Podcast is back, and we want to thank everybody for continuing this journey with us. It's been amazing. And today is not going to be any different. Purpose of the podcast is to highlight father-son relationships and try to give advice to those who are without that father in the household. So we're just excited, man. And we thank you guys. Today, I got to meet Shelvin Garrett and Shelvin Garrett II during a great process of recruitment. Ever since then, man, I just been big fans of these two gentlemen. And I hope you guys see that as well. So I'm going to introduce my dad, Mike Bond Sr. How you doing, Pop?
What's up, y'all?
All right. You know me, the guy that talks probably too much, Michael Bond Jr. And then, like I said, we have our guests, and I'll let them kind of introduce themselves a little bit, starting with Dad, Shelvin Garrett I.
Shelvin Garrett I, absolute pleasure being here. Great fan of yours. First time I met you. Even some of those videos that Shelvin showed me during the video or the recruiting process, excuse me. You just have that type of demeanor about you that's kind of magnetic. And once we met you on the recruiting, great fan of yours as well. Love what you're doing.
Appreciate that.
Shelvin Garrett II. Not much about me. Bond is my guy, though. So
I appreciate that, man. So let's just get to it. And Dad, I'm going to let you start us off.
Welcome to the Listen Son Podcast, Shelvin Sr. and Shelvin Jr. Thank you for taking your time out today to join us. I know Mike Jr. changed my life because I didn't have a dad in my life. And I didn't meet him till I was 25 years old. So, I played sports, but didn't have the support. So I was excited when he was born and basically, wanting the best for him. That's why his name is Mike Jr., I guess. But I want to know how important that was for you when you had your sons.
Thank you for asking. Very important. Very much. I'm like you in many aspects. My dad was in my life. Mom and dad divorced, and there were times where I see him a lot and times when I wouldn't see him a lot. I always knew he loved me and cared for me, but he didn't make it to a lot of my sporting events. I think he made it to one of my basketball games in Boys and Girls Club. He made it to one game in junior high, made it to one game in high school. And I didn't play past high school. But as I got older, he became more and more involved in my life. Again, like I said, I always knew he loved me and cared for me. And as far as when I had my first son, he's a honeymoon baby. One of the greatest joys of my life. I know when I met my wife at church, and before I had met her, I'd always said that, Lord, I desire to have a wife to carry on, or a son to carry on the family name. And right. He's been awesome. He's doesn't give me any trouble. Great grades. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's one of the few great things that I've done, and one of the things that I've left on this earth is having this young man here.
Right. I don't know if you want me to call you Junior. You have a problem with that, Shelvin?
You can call me what you want. It's all good.
Okay. How has it been for you to have your dad in your life?
Well, it's kind of just like day-to-day life, kind of, because I haven't seen the other side. Well, from my perspective, it's a lot of my friends out here don't really have their dads. So once I started to grow up and see how important it was and stuff like that, and how lucky I am and blessed to have my dad in my life, you just appreciate it much more once you get older. When you're young, you don't really notice it, but once I started getting older, I really appreciated it. So like that.
How was sports introduced in your household, and what was it? Was it basketball, football, or baseball? How did that come about?
I think I played basketball at the Y, like everybody does that. But I got introduced to football, I think, from an older cousin. There, he played at the Boys and Girls Club. He had a pretty big name. So I walk around and say that's my cousin, so people will know me.
What about you, Dad?
Well, at a very young age, I knew that he was gifted. He was blessed athletically as well as academically. But I knew he was blessed athletically just by watching him play and some of the things that he did. Like, wow, he's special. So at that point, I just figured that I would try to expose him to any and everything I could to find out what it was that he liked best, and kind of let it go from there. Like I said, basketball, he could be just as good in basketball if he wanted to as he is in football and track. Like I say, it's just a matter of him in his mind wanting to do what he wants to do, and then he takes off and he does it. So what I wanted to do, basketball was my sport, the vertically challenged. I'm 5'9", I'm average height, so didn't really go any further than high school. But for him, I just wanted to get him exposed to any and everything, baseball, softball, whatever it was, and let him figure out what he liked best and just kind of be there for him at that point. Once I saw that he really loved football, then I sought to get active, and I grew a love for football. And started to coaching, and I was asked to coach. I wasn't, jumping out there, hey, I'm gonna be your coach. And it was I was asked to coach, and then I coached him and my youngest son also through football all the way through their youth football days.
Yeah, it's very similarities there. My daughter, her name is Maya. She was at a game with me watching Mike Jr. play football, and she said, "Dad, seemed like he liked football better than basketball," which he was good at, like you said, all three of them. I said, well, you know what the difference is? He liked basketball, but he loves football. You could just see the difference. That was his choice,
Yes.
But like you said, if he really wanted to put his mind to it, he would have been a great basketball player, as far as I'm concerned, as well. Another question, I heard you got an accomplishment, triple jump lately. Or was that last year or what?
The conference, it was like our last chance conference meet. It was like the top 12 in each event from our conference. I got third.
Was it the triple jump or long jump?
Triple jump.
Triple jump. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that make you feel, Dan?
Again, so I'll preface my answer with this statement. I always pushed him to be the best that he could be. I just, again, yes, he's my son, but I see that he's special. So anyone that I see as special, I'm always going to try to push him, whether it's my son or I don't know him from Adam, and I see him, I'll go up and tell him, hey, man, you're great. You're awesome. You're doing a wonderful job. Keep striving. So with my son, he hasn't competed in the triple jump since June of 2019. His junior year, because of, with COVID, he didn't have a chance to compete his senior year. So in that aspect, I'm very happy and joyful that he was able to make, to accomplish that feat. But he has so much more in him than the jump, what he did. And I've never been one to subscribe to the you're just a freshman. Your time is now. You take advantage of it. You do your best now. Irregardless. Yeah, you'll get better, but there's nothing saying, hey, you're a freshman. You shouldn't win it all flat out right now. You win it 4 years as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Again, just pushing him to be his best within him. I obviously being there for him, never missing games. It doesn't matter to me. I've been blessed to have my own small business where as long as I know what's going on in advance, I can plan and I can be at any of his events, which has been a great blessing. So I've seen him progress, and I kind of know what he has in him and what he doesn't have in him, and he has a lot more in him. So it was great, but I think he'd do much better.
Okay. Son, I'm glad that we have the Garretts on today, because this is what I'm trying to tell you. And when you have kids, you'll understand what I'm saying. When we see something special, and you had it as well, that's why I pushed you. You probably thought, well, he's pushing me higher some days, but you were gifted, son, and not just athletically, but academically. So that's why the standards were set so high. So I'm glad that you're able to hear that, so you'll know that that's the reasoning. As a parent, you see gifts out of your kids, and you just want to push them to the best of their ability to make it to the next level.
Yes, sir.
But I'll pass it on to you, son.
That's a beautiful introduction. All right, everybody should be feeling a little bit more comfortable now. We feel like family. We are, man. We definitely are. So let's get to a hot topic, man, just to lighten it up a little bit before we continue with this beautiful story from Shelvin Garrett first and Shelvin Garrett second. It's a lot of audio and going around in social media as always, and one of them is Kirk Franklin. We're not here to talk about Kirk, his parenting style, or if he's this or that. We're not here to talk about that, but him and his son, is some audio of them having a conversation and words were exchanged and things of that nature. So I'm gonna start with Shelvin in a second because I don't know if I ever had this moment where I felt like I can challenge my dad. You know what I mean? Or I felt like I was bigger and badder than he was. I probably didn't always agree with what he was, what he had to say, or if he didn't let me go to somewhere or do this or do that. But I don't think I was ever, gonna step to him. You know what I mean? So did you ever have that moment where, you were just so mad at something your dad went a different way with a decision or something? You thought, all right, this is the time I'm gonna show him, who really run this.
No, I mean we play wrestle all the time, flex my muscle on, but I never get the guts to step over that line. It's just too much like respect. He knows way more than I do. So I mean, before I, argue a little bit, but he knows more than I do. So I just listen now. So yeah, I'm not stepping over that line anytime soon in this lifetime.
Hey, man, I'm with you, man. I just cannot echo enough of what you said. It's a respect thing. And I mean, personally, in those times, I'm listening more than what I'm trying to get a point anyway, because like you said, it's a smart man I got blessed with to guide me and lead me. I mean, I might go to my room and mumble something, but I'll make sure it didn't go down to where he can hear it. But now it's time for the dads. Did you guys ever feel that the way we were conducting ourselves or going, and I know you guys view us as good sons and respectful and all of that, but was there ever that moment where you got in your head, like, I'm gonna have to probably turn this guy down a notch? Any one of you can go first. My dad or Shelvin first. Dad, you want to go first?
Yeah, I go first. No, I really never had that problem. Basically you respected, what we set out, the rules that we set out for the household. I set you down 5 games one time, and you were in junior high, but you was very disappointed. But it didn't never escalate to that level. And usually when I explained to you why I was disciplining you, you like you said, if you did something and it was in your room, I never seen it. But I also was raised from grandparents, grandmother and granddad, and my granddad didn't play that, so he instilled that to us to not let anyone disrespect your home, even your kids. So even if you would have tried that, it wouldn't have worked, son. You know what I'm saying? So you're not going to rule my house. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm not. No, it's only one man. At that time, and we set out the rules, and you had to respect that. You understand? But like I said, I didn't. I never encountered that. And basically, like Shelvin Jr. said, there might have been some times where you question what I was saying, but it never ever amounted to that. And I never even thought of you even trying anything like that. You understand? It just wasn't that type of relationship. It's still not that type of relationship. So, but for your sake, good, you respected your dad, okay? And I'll pass that on to Shelvin Sr.
Thank you. Very much the same. As we're having this conversation, I'm finding out that there's a lot of similarities between you, Mr. Bond Sr. and myself. My grandparents raised me.
Wow.
So it from the South, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Taught to respect and everything like that. Whose house it is, watch your step, everything like that. So as far as my son, yeah, I can see a few times where visibly he was disappointed with what was going on or what I said or what judgment I laid down. But no, it never came to that point. And like you said, we wrestled a lot, and we compete, we race and things like that. He's never beat me in a race. ever. But athlete, but he's never raced. I remember my dad told me, son, you'll never beat me in a race, and I never did beat him. And I was smart enough to realize when he probably could beat me, so we stopped racing.
Yeah, right.
so he never did beat me. He never beat me in a race.
You're right. Right.
But yeah, it's been situations where things got a little heated, and like you said, you sat Coach Bond down for 5 games. I remember I sat Shelvin down in junior high for basketball for the whole second half and the first half of the next game. For getting a little loud, and where most people say, "Oh, he's just a kid." No. First of all, he's my son. Secondly, he's a player on the team. I don't want allow that from anyone on the team. And don't think that just because he's my son, I'm going to go light on him. Or I'm going to go worse on him than I do on any of the other kids. So there'll never be any instance where someone would say that, oh, he's showing favoritism or anything like that. So it was one time where something like that happened, but it didn't escalate to a point of any fights or anything like that, or long verbal altercations. Not at all.
Right.
Good. Thanks everybody for sharing, man. That was good conversation. And let's go to the second quarter of the show. Shelvin, I want to start with you, and then we'll toss it to Dad, because for me, I'm gonna ask you, what are 2 or 3 lessons or memories you would take as you guys are still continuing to make those memories that you have right now that you would hold forever of you and your dad, spending time together or just being together. A couple that I got with me and my dad is shooting basketball in the alley. I talked about it earlier in the podcast and previous episodes. We get some McDonald's. That was our thing before I went to a game, the early games and things like that. Watching playoff games in the living room with them, going to events, like that was our thing. You know what I mean? So those are, even the times we went to church together at Parkline, that was are the memories that I hold close to me. I'm only going to give you 2, only got to say 2 or 3, because I know you kind of real chill and laid back. So what are 2 or 3 either memories or either some lessons or values that your dad has taught you that you'll hold close to you?
Some memories, I'd say throwing the ball in the yard. I remember those pretty well. All the recruiting visits, hotels and stuff like that. So those had good conversations and stuff. And then lessons, like you said, don't really worry about age. Just go out and try to win. Second place is first loser. So
that's a good answer, man. That's a really good. And I figured you probably wouldn't say none of them races. You probably don't remember none of them races. So, so I'm glad.
It's round about 8th grade, Coach Bond. Round about 8th grade, we cut it off.
Okay, I got you. So, and then I'm pretty sure those times weren't only valuable for Shelvin the second, but for you, Shelvin senior or Shelvin the first. What are the times that hold close to you?
Like you said, going out in that yard, throwing the ball around, it was, so we lived in a neighborhood. Where you saw a lot of single parents, you saw a lot of mischief, trouble, you saw a lot of bad things. And I'm grateful that they had an opportunity to see that side of things. But at the same time, when me and my sons would go out in the yard, me and Shelvin would go out, or Jonathan, my youngest son, we go out in the yard and we throw that ball around, and you see the kids that would stop and look at us. You see the cars that would ride by and they would honk, or they would throw a thumbs up or something like that. Those are things where we're living our life. I'm trying to mentor him and tutor him the best I can. And others are seeing that as well. So those are the big time examples, I believe. That's one of the greatest ones, out in the yard throwing the ball. And then, like he said too, when we would go on the recruiting visits, a lot of times it would be my wife and the boys. But then there were a few where it was just Shelvin and myself. And we had really good conversations concerning life, him being a young man, how things might be, how some things are going to be, just things to look out for, my experiences, how they might translate to what he's going through. Those are major things. And again, whether I'm in the stands or on the sidelines, just watching him perform out there on that field or on the track is something that it's amazing. It's one of the greatest feelings on earth to be blessed to be able to see that and partake and see him just walking in his blessing.
Yes. Pops, you got anything on that before I jump forward?
Oh yeah, man, throwing the ball out there in the yard, coaching you. Like Shelvin Sr. said, our grandparents come from the South. So they didn't get a lot of education. They was cut short, man. They had to be in the cotton fields and things like that. So hearing those stories and preaching education, that's why I got my education. And just to be able to pass that on to you and taking you up to the university on the recruiting trips as well, that was exciting. But taking you up there, seeing a young man that come from the community that's going up there to get his degree, that was a great feeling, son. You know, we rode up there, but you probably really don't know how important that was to me. And not only to take you up there, but to get a bachelor's degree and then turn around and get your master's. You know,
Awesome.
I'm forever proud of you, son. Like you say, going to church and you understanding your faith, man, I could go on. And it's not about us. It's about the Garretts, but those are some great memories, man. And then you when you accepted to go up there with you, for you to say when we were out of town, my wife and I, and you said that the University of Concordia wants to pursue you as a coach, but just to even mention your dad and say, well, I'm interested in the job, but I would like my dad to come with me, but he's out of town. And I thank the university for allowing you to wait a week till I got back and then to go up there with you and for you to sign a contract that you work so hard for and something that you want to do and you're so passionate about, not just coaching, but mentoring young men. That was great feeling as well. And lastly, like Shelvin Sr. said, just watching you play, man, all those years and seeing that that's your son and people coming up to you, man, and give you chills, and just to see you doing so well out there, and not just athletically, but academic. I can stick my chest out a little bit and say, well, he's not just gifted, on the athletic side, he's got it. He's got it upstairs too, So those have been some very, very proud moments, man, that I love to talk about among the guys. We talk about things about our, kids, just like you guys probably talk about your pops sometime. We talk about our kids and all the, what they're doing. And as long as, you and Shelvin Jr., as y'all continue to strive and be productive in society, that's all we want, man. That's all we want. But I'll pass it back to you, son.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is because we've seen a few of that over the last couple of weeks. Deion Sanders and his son, walking the sidelines. Chris Paul and his son at the All-Star game. These are memories that even though they celebrities, they will also hold those close to their chest, because that's father-son time. So that's huge. But you definitely help us transition now, because if you think I'm a bad boy in the classroom, we really got a bad boy here in the classroom with us today. So, Shelvin the second, man, what was it in high school? Was it 3.9 you graduated with?
Yeah, 3.92 or something like that.
Yes, sir. And I recently. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, give him his props. Let's give him his props.
Hey man, I gotta give you props, Shelvin Jr. Man, you did that. Nobody did that. You did that, man, and I give it to you. And that comes from, I'm pretty sure the raising of your family and the structure. But continue, man. Continue. You're on your way.
And then
Thank you.
I seen another thing, and I know this. When I first got, I got one of these, but I didn't see it as a big deal. But just like your dad, my dad seen it as a big deal. I see you made the dean's list at your first semester, right?
Yes, sir.
Big props, man. That's not nothing to take lightly. Now that I'm learning, congratulations on that. So where I'm going with this is you finally got, and I know how close your family is to you, just by talking to you during the recruitment process. You didn't have to say it all the time. I could just tell like how close you are to your family. You went away, you experienced some things, you handled the business. I even think you made leadership council up there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop bragging on you, Shelvin. So you might as well get used to it, man. But you know, you got a little taste of being away from home. You've seen what it's like to not only go to school, but go to school during a pandemic. You know, so what are some of the things, man? Some of the lessons you learned that you can say that you learned that resonate with you, or that you would say, hey, for the young guys, even my little brother that's coming up behind me, this is what you should know about college. It don't got to be a long little speech, but what are just some things that these young men should know?
You gotta be independent. You gotta learn how to do stuff yourself. Time management. If you just a regular student, it's pretty easy. But you gotta learn how to use your free time right. Athletically, you gotta lock in and do what you gotta do with the sports. And you just gotta manage your time and make the right decisions. So it's easy to do the wrong thing in college. So you gotta keep your head straight and stay locked in on your goals.
That's a really good answer. And did you find yourself calling home a lot, or thinking about home a lot, or you know, what was it like for you?
When my first school, I was home about every weekend. I didn't stay longer than 2 weeks. I was home about every weekend.
Yeah.
It was 3 other people from Beloit there, so it was away home every weekend. So I was here.
Yeah, more than I'm sorry, Coach Bond, if I may interject real quick. He was, every time I talked to my wife, I called my wife middle of the day or something, and what you doing? I'm on the other line with Shell. It was nonstop. It was if she wasn't on the phone with him, like I say, he was here, so the groceries were still gone, just like if he was here. He was there quite a bit. So, but it was an adjustment period for both him and the rest of the family, you know, getting used to him not being here every day. So it was an adjustment phase that we went through. So he wasn't just suffering, we were suffering too from separation anxiety.
We definitely talked about that. I think the second episode or third episode we did, how it really doesn't prepare you. You know, we prepare for this, you know, this moment of going to school and performing at the high level and then going to college, but then we never really let it sink in that, dang, we're going to be away from each other, and a key figure is going to be out the house. You know what I mean? So if you can go a little bit more in detail, like when you say a little separation anxiety, you know, we were suffering a little bit too. In what ways? You know, because I don't think people really understand the magnitude of what we're saying when we talk about that.
Well, again, when you're in a situation like your family has been blessed to be in, and we have been blessed to be in, you're used to seeing your whole family every day. You know, you're used to that personal interaction with them every day. And it's you know, Zoom and everything, and the phone is great, but there's no substitute for actually being there, being able to touch my son like this, and you know, these things, like it doesn't prepare you. Same as when I went away to college, I knew I was going, but the day I left, some tears happened to come out of my eyeballs. You know, it was just even though I knew I was going, I knew what day I was leaving, the whole 9 yards. It's still something about being absent from the presence of someone that you love and have cared for and have been there with them every step of the way. When he was younger, when he used to go stay with friends, you know, there's a little feeling of emptiness when he's out of the house. I think it's just because I love him so much, and like I said, it's my firstborn. Yeah, it's you get used to it. It gets a little easier each time, but initially it was tough.
I'm 10 years removed. Pops, is it still that sense of feeling?
Well, you know, yeah, it like Shelvin Senior say, it gets easier, but you know, you still miss, you know, it's the love, like he said, it's the love, man, and the connect we have, you know, as a family. But I'm glad Shelvin spoke on that, because we did in episode 2, and you can't prepare for that, even though, like you said, we're preparing for you guys to go to college, but your routine, even though you're working, your routine is set aside for practices and games, and you know, all that is changed now. And then you're not physically in the house anymore, you know, and it affects you. It affects the family, and you have to adjust yourself. The wife and I had to adjust, and you were the last to leave. So it was tough,
Yeah.
It was tough,
So yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys touching on that. And Shelvin, I appreciate you, man, sticking through. I know you had another transition, but you sticking this thing out. You've been successful at it. You doing what you love, and you got the support, man. Trust me. You on your way. You on your way. And I know, when people say that to you, it's kind of like, yeah, thank you. And it's sometimes hard to just, swallow that. But please, man, keep doing what you're doing. You're rare. And I mean that, not as a coach, but as a peer to you, man. You're rare. Keep doing what you're doing. All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
No problem.
And I want to second that, man, because education is big in our family, and you really, really understand this. If you don't now, down the road, that, man, you're doing great. 3.92, man, that's great, man. When I set Mike down, I got to tell a story before we move on. I know he don't want me to tell you, Shelvin, but the reason it was 5 games, man, he jumped out there with a 3.5, 3.6. I know what he's capable of. I know what the Bond household, what our measuring stick is here. So he comes in. I don't know if he's messing with with the crew or I don't know. I still don't. I didn't understand it, but he goes down to what, 2.8, son? Was it a 2.8? You want to talk about it?
That sounds about right. We can go with a 2.8. Yeah.
Okay. So he goes down to a 2.8. Coach is mad at me because I sit him down. Man, he's still eligible. I said, no, yeah, he's still eligible to play basketball. I understand that, but he's not eligible in the Bond household to play.
Yes, sir.
And I said, I already knew. I told the wife, once I sit him down, and he loves to play. His compassion is so strong. So when the people walk up to him and say, "What's wrong, Bond? You hurt?" No, he's not hurt. He's physically not hurt as far as injury wise, but he's hurt as far as because he's not out there on the court because of his grades. So there was some controversy, but I knew that the passion that he had for the game, he would never, ever do that again. And I can knock on wood and tell you that he never got below a 3.5 ever again. And that goes on to college, the high school and then college. And, the coach, now he tells me years later, I see where you were going with this. But at the time, the games were so, we need to win this game. No, we need to look at the big picture here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So if I let that go, what you think is going to happen? So I had to sit him down for 5 games and it worked out for us. So I commend you, man. I commend you. Keep striving.
Listen, Shelvin, it's levels to this story. We're going to move on, but I will say this one part, and I'm not going to say my cousin's name, but one of my cousins actually was clowning too in the classroom. And his dad is a big educator, a big, personal academics too. And his dad actually took it to uniforms, Velcro shoes, and shaved his head off, cut his hair low. So I'm actually grateful that I set the 5 games, because if it went to that extent, I know, listen, I'm not going to blast my cousin that went through that, but I love him. I want him to know I love him. But, it just goes to show, man, our dads really were prepping us for something that we couldn't understand at the time. Because that he's excelling in his field right now. He just got a new job, and he just got rookie of the year, I think, newcomer of the year at the job. So he's doing great things. But I can't say what field he's in or all that, because everybody gonna know which cousin I'm talking about. But we'll move.
Coach Bond, if I could say something real quick,
yes.
I'm sorry. I just so many things that your father and I are connecting on, which is eerie. It's awesome too. I commend you, Mr. Bond Sr., first of all, for standing your ground. What the bar is, and the bar doesn't move down. The bar might move up, but it doesn't move down.
That's right.
I commend you for that. Yeah, there's been some instances, where you see some kids, or it didn't happen with Shelvin, but, where you're eligible. I remember when Coach Boyd, Carl Boyd, and I were coaching at the middle school. And his son was playing and Shelvin was playing. And there was some kids. We set our bar above the school and the school district
Absolutely.
had their bar at. And we set this up with the principal, and he was all on board, and we let the parents know and the kids know. Yeah, the school says you only need this. We say you need this.
You're right.
And this is how it's going to be. So we're pushing these kids, right? Not just my son, but we're pushing these kids. Now, Shelvin knew his bar was way up here.
You're right.
But again, I commend you for standing your ground, and you know what you all do in your household or what the school district says. That's one thing. But the Garrett household, just like the Bond household, says it's got to be something even better. Strive for perfection. We're not going to get it, but strive for it.
There you go. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm actually glad you interjected, because that helps me say one point before we move on. How do you guys feel about, not everybody is, academically able to get to the heights that Shelvin II is, and like I did, I'm pretty sure you did, Dad, and my dad, had some good grades. What would you say about the students that try absolutely hard, but a 2.3 is their ceiling? That's just what their ceiling is. That's all they can obtain. What words of advice should we give to those sons that, just they didn't have the father that'll sit them down and go through math with them, or that their priority was working instead of, get grades. They had to get a job to help with bills or things like that. And we see this. That's why I'm bringing it up, because Shelvin has teammates like this. I play with guys like this. They really just don't know. And I'm not talking about the guys that skip class or just, come to class with their headphones in. I'm talking about the ones that really try, and a C+ is all they're going to get. What do we say to those sons? Anybody could take this. Anybody.
I'm sorry. I asked them right away. There are some young men, some young women like this as well. I just look them in the eye. I tell them, did you do your best? And if I don't know everything, but I can usually tell if they're doing their best. And then we can always also kind of go by, their past history, what their grades look like, and kind of go from there. But I realize not everyone's going to be a super high achiever, so to speak. There's varying levels to things, but I tell them, hey, did you do your best? Just like on the basketball court or the football field or whatever they're doing, volleyball. Did you do your best? I know everyone's not going to be a LeBron James or something like that, right? You got to have a role player. You got to have some people, defensive stoppers or whatever. So everyone has a role. And as long as I feel and they feel like they did their best, that's all we can, that's all I can really ask for.
That's a beautiful answer. All right. I like that. Let's go on to a big achievement, I feel like, that was made by Jordan Poyer. I believe he is I think he's still on the Bills. He is on the Bills, and they have a good secondary. But Jordan Poyer yesterday announced that he reached a year of sobriety. All right, he reached a year of sobriety. Alcohol was tough on him. And he goes to say, I decided to quit drinking, not because of anything special like Lent or New Year's resolution, but because I was an alcoholic. I'm writing this knowing there are others out there like me that realize they too need help. My first step was realizing I had a drinking problem, because I did. I couldn't drink just to hang. When I drank, I had to drink to get effed up. I used alcohol to avoid all my issues in real life, my family, my job, my friends. When I drank, I could forget all of my issues. I didn't have to deal with them face on. After we lost to Houston in 2019, I felt I didn't play the way I wanted to, and we lost in such a bad way that for the next 5 weeks after the game, I drank every day. Stressed about my contract, stressed with my family, stressed about life. I just didn't know any other way to cope. My wife has seen it firsthand. Honestly, if it wasn't for her and the consistent support from my family and friends, I don't know where I would be. I remember days she would cry because I just couldn't put a beer down. I remember nothing being able to play with Aaliyah because I was too intoxicated. I remember feeling thoughts in my head that would scare the hell out of sober me now. I finally decided to take a few trips to AA. My mom told me the trips helped her. Never spoke in any of the meetings. I just took 3 trips and listened. I realized my issues were not even close to others' life issues. Those 3 meetings, plus the support from my family, in particular, my wife, Rachel, I was able to change my life and see the light. I can't lie. Even writing this, I'm embarrassed. It's shameful. But if I can overcome the struggle of alcohol, so can you. I didn't want you all to know this about me. I'm writing this because I know others out there struggle as well. If you believe that is you, it's never too late to seek help, and let you know my DMs are open for questions or support. That hit home. Well, let's give him a round of applause for Jordan, because that's big. But what I'm reading that for is because a lot of times in life as men, we don't realize that any accomplishment is a big accomplishment in our life, and we struggle with, praising ourselves, and it's not to be conceited, but just to know that we're doing something. So how do we get better at being proud of those victories, that those individual victories, whether it be, Shelvin said he's gonna go work out for 7 days straight, and he accomplishes that, and we all should support him in that. Or he say he wants to get 3.4.0, and he gets that. How do we support the small victories so that when we do accomplish them as men, we don't overlook them?
Who wants that one first?
Shelvin Senior bailed us out the last time. So
that's fine. I didn't know if you wanted them to. Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted.
Yeah, start us off, and then I'll follow suit, and I'll see if Shelvin the second can give us a few words too on this.
Okay, yeah. Son, and to the Garretts, I'm starting to find out mental health issues are big in our society, and no one really wanted to speak on them. Like Son, Garrett Jr. and MJ. Back when your grandparents was growing, when they came up, it was almost like things happened, but they didn't talk about it. You know what I mean? In generations now, especially men, there's a lot of pride, and when it's mental health issues, and then it's trauma. And when you have those in your life, man, and really don't have anyone to talk to, or feel that you're not confident enough to talk to anyone, sometimes you can spiral, and it can become an addiction. And I'm just thankful that he had a supporting wife, and talking to him and trying to get him the help that he needed. And we just need to continue to support men and build them up in any accomplishment. Like you said, it could be academics, it could be exercising, it could be what have you, but especially addiction. Some people hide it well, and you don't know. But if you do know, just try to be supportive as you can. And you don't know, as I tell you all the time, you don't know where people been. We God has blessed our household. It's been times that even though I've been very active in your life, but it's been episodes that I have spoke, man, that it was tough on your dad for a minute. 6 years old, come from a 2-parent household. Then all of a sudden, 6 years old, my mom dies in a car accident. Dad's not in my life. Grandparents are there, but it's certain things, they had certain guidelines that, certain things you couldn't talk to them about, So, God blessed me with uncles and cousins to kind of deal with situations. Then I had your auntie, which is my sister, not having a mom, no sisters. I had to be her support system, So when I met my dad at 25, that's why everything turned for me, because to forgive. See what happens, man, all the buildup that you have, the hatred that you have to release that. And once you release that, you're forgiving, you got to forgive. And that's for you. That was for me. I had to forgive my dad, but I told him, not having a mom, it's almost like it was a major responsibility put on me at a young age, and my granddad was 66 years old when my mom passed. That was their daughter. So now imagine that they're getting older. So we gotta help them. Just like you hear young people, people helping your elderly, you might have to help us some sons one day. Well, that's the position I was put in earlier. I had to help my grandparents as they got older. I get over there at 6 years old. Another 10 years, I'm 16. My granddad is 76. So I'm helping them in more ways than, they don't get me wrong, they supplying the roof and everything and food, but me and my sister had to get out there and work, man. We had to get out there and work at an early age, man, to support ourselves. And then it turned into helping them, the grandparents. So there was a lot put on me. Thank God that I never turned to any type of drugs, and that was by the grace of God. There was alcohol, but I thank God for once I didn't never dabble in that too tough, but I'm saying enough to destroy me in a way where I couldn't see the things that I see today. And now I know a lot of that came because once I met my dad at 25, I forgave him. And I knew then that things would be better because it seemed like a whole weight lifted off of me. And then, for yourself, son, that me and my dad became the best friends, so until his death. And sometimes you got to just sit and listen. And once over the years, I started listening and then it started making sense, but I didn't know none of that stuff beforehand. So all I knew that no dad, no mom, and all the things that was put on me and my granddad, he didn't help the case. He's like, son, all you got is your sister. And what I want you to do is I want you to make sure she always be taken care of. So I felt that responsibility because he put that responsibility on. But at the same time, he was 66. He didn't know how much time he had at the time, but God gave him another 10 years. But he's instilling this stuff in me. And I'm gonna pass it on to Shelvin, but this is the one, Shelvin Sr. We get over to grandparents' house. He tells me, now listen, 18 years old, you out of here. So, I just got here, but at the time I look back at it, all he was doing was preparing me. You get your plan together now. And they drove me to now, one thing they push you for education. And what your grandparents was going to do, they was going to make sure that you knew about God, your faith. They was going to feed you. And they was going to put that roof over your head. That's what they did, man. So at that, from 6 to 18, I got to come up with it. I know at 18, I got to go. So I thank God for that too, because he put that in my head that I knew that I had to do something, So I know I got a little bit off of it, but all that, what I'm saying is, causes trauma. It causes mental health issues. So I'm just glad that he has help. And what we have to do as men, and you all in your generations, try to support if you know any of that is going on. And I pass it to you, Shelvin Sr.
Thank you, sir. Again, a whole lot of similarities in our upbringing. Quite a few. I just, I get a smirk on my face when you're mentioning something that, kind of hit home for me as well. As far as that man's situation and him being sober, kudos to him and his support system, his wife and all those around that supported him. Again, it's something that hits home for me as well. Have alcoholics in my family, and me having never been an alcoholic, I drank like you, Mr. Bond Sr. I drank from the time I was 21 till 27 when I got saved. So I kind of packed it in those 6 years, but I never touched a drug in my life by the grace of God. So I never had to deal or contend with that. I drank just, kind of socially for the heck of it type.
Right.
But it wasn't anything where it was, no, don't get me wrong. I got drunk sometimes and made a fool of myself.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
absolutely.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I tell Shelvin those stories too, so that he'll know it didn't do me any good. Most of the time when I drank, I made a fool of myself, just to let him know. No, your dad wasn't perfect. Your dad is never going to be perfect. But I drank, and this is what I got out of it. Nothing. Now, right. I can't quite understand why someone would drink because, logically, not being in that situation, if you drink, once you get drunk and then you come down and you sober up, your problems are still going to be there. So I don't quite understand the logic, but that doesn't mean I don't empathize, with them and understand at least they're suffering from something. There's something underlying. There's a problem that you're trying to drink away. And once you get drunk, sober up, that problem's still there. We need to learn how to address the problem and admit that there is a problem, and let's try and figure that out. And it's easier said than done. obviously, because folks are still drinking and drinking and drinking. The milestone, the 1 year sober, that's something,
Yeah.
It's those simple things like every day, make it better than yesterday. Try to be better than you were yesterday. Just those small type of steps. Every day leads to another day, leads to another day. That's basically all I can really say concerning that, because again, I've grown up seeing it, watching it. My dad struggled with alcohol. I got other very, very close family members that struggle with alcohol or drugs or both. All you can do is love them and pray for them, and try and do everything you can to help them constructively and not help them destructively.
Shelvin, the second for you, seeing the athlete, come out and speak about this, who's a role model to so many. How do you feel about it?
I feel like it's good that, he's confident enough to come out and share his story and hopefully help others. And little accomplishments do mean a lot. I'm kind of bad with them though. I'm always looking at the bigger picture. So I kind of just walk over the little accomplishments to kind of like steps to the goal. So I try not to get caught up in them. So, just keep striving for something bigger. So, but that's a step in his journey. So it's definitely a big deal. So big ups to him.
Yeah. I say the same thing. That's why one of the things I wanted to get involved in is being a mental health advocate for athletes. That's always something that I wanted to do. And when you read that post that he put, it always seemed like he was worrying about something, the contract or the loss and something like that. And, it's how we wired. We wired for that, to worry about the next game, the next play and things like that as athletes. But I think also in our generation now, we got to try to feel like we got to compete with the social medias and the next person's journey and their look and whatever. So I definitely get where Jordan is coming from, but I feel like this should be praised more than the Super Bowl for him. Like he should party harder than this and celebrate this more than if the Bills would have went to the Super Bowl this year, because this is his Super Bowl. This is his personal Super Bowl. And I'm glad that he came out and was confident enough to share because that shows he's been vulnerable. And like Shelvin Jr. said, man, he can touch so many. He can show people the way to celebrate those small accomplishments that are really big, that really should be talked about. So, and it's crazy to me. It's really crazy to me because, I play Madden a lot, in my spare time, and I play with Jordan Poyer, and do this, and I talk about how good he is, but it's not until you know that what he's really going through behind the scenes that you understand how magnificent he is, the person behind the shoulder pads and the helmet. And there's so many athletes like that, I'm just glad that he took the steps before it was on the bottom of ESPN and they blasted my man for a DUI or for some reckless accident. And now it's, now it's even tougher to come back from that because now you got to get others involved. So we all are proud of you here, Jordan, at the Listen Son podcast, man. And we hope we can celebrate next year 2 years of your sobriety from a distance with you, sir. So thankfully, thank you all for talking about that. And to help kind of wrap us up on the show before we get to the Listen Son message, Shelvin the second, what are you hoping to be your next steps, man? What are you hoping to, I don't want to say 5 years, I don't want to say 10 or, a couple months, but what are you hoping to accomplish next? So the people that really are watching this and want to keep track of your journey, how can they help support you through that and follow you?
Number one is the NFL. It's every day. Everything I do is attacking, making it to the NFL. So everything I do is calculated to be able to accomplish that goal. So that's what I'm focused on.
I love it. And
then I say in a more recent view, win nationals and track to get up on that podium.
Yes. Those are good. And Shelvin first, Dad, how are you gonna help him get to those goals that he's set out for himself?
Well, I'm going to continue kind of to do what I have been doing. I don't consider myself an expert. I'm learning as I go. I'm praying. I'm asking for guidance as I go to try to be the best father I can be and supporter of him. I'm his number one supporter. I truly, truly believe that. Like I say, you know that post that we got reconnected. We have been, you and I, Coach Bond, we've been reconnected. I never stopped following you because, like I say, from the first time I had an interaction with you, you just struck me as that's a good dude. I like him. So when that happened, I happen to post something, you know, Shelvin being on Dean's List and his track accomplishment. I post those things because he won't do it. He's modest, and you know, I can't say that I raised him to be that way, but a gentleman, he happened to be a cousin, and he's a pastor. He told me that you should be joyous and shout from the rooftop about the accomplishments that your son is doing, you know, because I've been so humble, quiet, humble. Let's just work. Let's just do our thing. We don't need to hoorah or yell. But after a while, you know, God's been good to us. You know, he really has. He's been really good to us. I always give God his due, and you know, faith without works is dead. Though.
That's right.
He puts in the work.
Mm-hmm.
He puts in the work, both in the classroom, out on the track, ball field. Was he's striving to be the best he can be, and that's one thing I always told him: whatever you do, be the best. Be the best that you can be. Pay attention. Look at things. Learn. Always be ready to learn. Be a sponge. You know they say that. Be a sponge. It doesn't matter if it's something you're interested in or not. The more you learn, it's going to impact your life. You know, there's no such thing as worthless information. I think everything is going to help you in life the more you can learn. So him doing that, man, it's been a blessing, and I'm going to continue to support him and be there for him, and continue to push him, continue to have him work on his mental, as far as he has so much more in him, like I said before, that he's got to unlock. And I believe a lot of it is mental. Once he realizes nothing can kill him but him, and whatever's in your mind, you got to stay positive, you got to stay focused, and he can achieve anything. Truly and firmly believe that, and we'll just continue to support him.
Yes. Awesome. Man, that was good. And not only did we, you know, seem like we connected, all four of us, but I think you and my dad have a connection now.
Yes, I do.
And all four of us, you know, it'd be nice to get together sometime. So before
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Before Shelvin first or Shelvin second, or if we blessed enough to get you both to share a Listen Son message, which is just, hey, listen, son, you know, to all the sons out there, you know, stay true to yourself, or believe in yourself, whatever it may be, whatever y'all is put on your heart to share. I want to just do a couple shout outs. I want to shout out More Kisses. If you're looking for a beard kit, you know, and something to keep nicely groomed, please check them out. Rebel Parish Clothing, definitely, if you're looking for some good merch, something to step out in. I want to give a shout out to my cousin Austin Ammo Williams, who's 7-0 now. Won his boxing match in Dallas yesterday. If you want to look him up, congrats. Go to YouTube. He second round, he knocked the boy Mouthpiece out. He didn't TKO him, but he was in his bag yesterday. So then I want to you know, just congratulate all the young men out there who are doing great and having success, man. Please share those stories with us so we can highlight them as best as we can. But yeah, to wrap us up, the Listen Son message. If you guys are ready, that's how we're gonna end it. We end every show like that. Either one of you can start, Shelvin 1 or Shelvin 2. Just start out by saying, listen, son, and you can say it to Shelvin, what you feel is, you know, you want him to know, or Shelvin, you can say it to your peers, what you want them to know. It doesn't matter.
Listen, son, listen.
Yeah. Facts. Yep.
A man of few words, huh?
Yeah.
I would say, listen, son, as I speak to my son, I'm so happy. I'm blessed to be able to call you my son and keep doing what you're doing. I love you.
Thanks once again, my fraternity and sorority of listeners of Listen Son podcast. Please, women and men, please like, subscribe, and share. Continue to support our goals to connect untold special real life stories.